From the Bronc TV and radio studios at UTPA in Edinburgh, it's the Bronc Sports Report. What's up, everyone? It's Daniel Morales here with your Bronc Sports Report. This week, we have your news on disorderly crowds and what the NFL plans to do about them, plus a report on the allegations surrounding Oklahoma State University. But first,
Lady Bronc keep rolling in Louisiana. The Big Daddy Invitational was a volleyball tournament held this past weekend at Montesee State, where the UTPA women's volleyball team came out winners 3 out of 4. Playing in doubleheaders on both Friday and Saturday, they first took on the University of Louisiana at Monroe and won 3-0. Next up was Prairie View, A&M University, where the Lady Broncs once again won 3-0. On Saturday, first up was host Montesee State, where the Lady Broncs 3-2. Finally, the final game, the Lady Broncs fell to the University of Southern Mississippi 3-0. For Bronc Radio Sports, I'm Marianne.
UTPA Department of Intercollegiate Athletes launched its UTPA Bronx Kids Club for kids ages 13 and under. For just $20, members get free admission to home basketball and baseball games, a free t-shirt, and a personalized birthday card. For more information on how to join, contact Sarah Hernandez at 956-665-2261.
Sports Illustrated is about to make the water rough in Stillwater, Oklahoma, with all the NCAA violations coming their way. In the Wild West of football, OSU Cowboys may have brought a few extra aces to the poker table to give them the edge. Oklahoma State University football coaches and boosters allegedly have been paying players. Some of the players walked away with $500 per game. Some players were paid $10,000 annually using no-show jobs and under-the-table payouts. OSU is also being investigated for academic misconduct. Players had their work done for them by tutors and other OSU personnel. They also had professors letting star players pass without doing much of the work. OSU allegedly selectively enforced the drug policy and at times permitted recreational drug use, using a special program to avoid any penalties. They also are under investigation for the Orange Pride Group, which is a volunteer group of girls that were interviewed by the coaches. A handful of the group allegedly used sex to recruit players, and the final allegation is OSU players that were deemed useless to the football program were cast aside. From Bronc Radio Sports, I'm David Sullivan.
Undercover police in the stands for NFL games? Are U.S. fans becoming European football hooligans that terrorize cities with riots and criminal behavior? The Seahawks want to make sure that this will not happen. Seattle is introducing undercover police wearing opposing team jerseys who will arrest intoxicated and unruly fans. Seahawk President Peter McLaughlin said that he wants to have a safe environment for both home and visitors. McLaughlin plans to introduce a $75 online fan behavior course for those kicked out of games mandatory before any fan returns. Seattle is right in acting now. In this day of sue-happy lawyers, teams have to be proactive to keep football as a family event. For the Bronc Sports Report, I'm Fred Mann.
Welcome to the Week 3 edition of the Bronc Radio Fantasy Football Minute. Matthew Stafford is a strong start this week in the land of fantasy football. Stafford has a great matchup this week facing off against the Washington Redskins, who have allowed an average of 30 fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. I'm expecting Tennessee Titans running back Chris Johnson to have a huge fantasy week. Johnson is going up against the San Diego Chargers. The Bolts have struggled to stop opposing running backs, allowing an average of 166 scrimmage yards to the position in the first 2 games. Rams rookie wideout Tavon Austin made a nice impact in Week 2. Finding the end zone twice, Austin now warrants consideration when the matchup is right. That's the case this week against the Dallas Cowboys, who have allowed the 4th most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. Carolina Panthers tight end Greg Olsen has a favorable matchup this week going against the New York Giants. In their first 2 games, the G-Men have allowed the 5th most fantasy points to opposing tight ends. That makes Olsen a nice option this week. For Bronc Radio Sports, I'm Javi Guerrero.
A lot of crazy games in the NFL this week. You'll hear about all of them in the NFL wrap-up Week 2. Here we go. First game kicked off in rainy New England, Jets and Patriots. Tom Brady struggled to get anything going with his young receivers, but the Pats pulled out the win 13-10. Panthers and Bills, rookie E.J. Manuel was cool as ice in the 4th quarter, throwing his only touchdown with 2 seconds left to put Buffalo over Carolina 24-23. Next up, Chargers and Eagles. After the 4th quarter collapse last week, San Diego didn't want it to happen again. Rivers threw for 419 yards and 3 TDs. Vic threw for 428 yards with 4 TDs, but Philly still fell 33-30. The Packers ripped through the Redskin defense. Rodgers had 4 TDs and tied the Green Bay single-game passing record with 480 yards. Green Bay rolls on 38-20. Bears and Vikings, Cutler threw for 290 yards and 3 TDs. Cutler hit his tight end Bennett with the go-ahead score with 10 seconds left to take the W 31-30. Moving on to the Falcons and Rams, both QBs threw for 350 yards in this one. Atlanta held on to the lead for the entire time to take the win 31-27. 24-24. Baltimore took care of the Browns at home 14-6. Dolphins pushed through the Colts on the road 24-20. Cowboys and Chiefs. Romo threw to Big 88 Bryant. He had 9 receptions for 141 yards and a TD. Alex Smith and Kansas City win it though, 17-16. Lions and Cardinals. Calvin Johnson looked good, starting off with a 72 yards scored. He finished with 6 receptions for 112 yards and 2 scores, but Arizona put together a nice comeback to win 25-21. Saints winning in Tampa 16-14. Pryor gets his first win for the Raiders against Jacksonville 19-9. Seahawks and 49ers. Lynch finishes with 135 total yards and 3 TDs, which led to the Seattle win. The Bengals hold on through the Steelers and Palomalu's 9 tackles and walk away with the win 2010. Manning Bowl 3, Broncos and Giants, both brothers threw for over 300 yards, but big brother Peyton had 2 TDs and took the win 41-23. Peyton is 3-0 versus little brother Eli. In my opinion, the game of the week goes to the Texans and Titans. Houston tied up the game after another fourth quarter comeback, which sent the game into overtime, and a new Houston hero emerged after Andre Johnson went down in the fourth quarter. DeAndre Hopkins stepped up and made the big plays in OT. Hopkins finished with 7 receptions for 117 yards and the game-winning touchdown to give Houston the win, 30-24. From Bronc Radio Sports, I'm David Sullivan.
Got FIFA fever? Are you ready for the newest installment in the series? The Office of Student Involvement will be hosting a party celebrating the release of FIFA 14th on September 24th. Players will be given free play and snacks in the Student Union game room.
Well, that's it for this week's Bronc Report. I would like to thank radio station manager Khadija Zarate, news director Omar Jimenez, and all the radio station staff. And as always, be sure to support your UTP athletics. Go Bronx!